Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming from you from KSCO Radio. Very happy to be here today. And time has come today by the Chambers Brothers, all right? So time has come today, and it's really a good time to kind of take a look at what's happening in your life and the life of those around you, and make note of where you are and set some grounds for your future. There's a few different things I'm going to go over today. Last week we talked a lot about setting new goals for the future, establishing where you were at the beginning of 2023, at the end of 2023, and now where you want to be at the end of 2024 or next week. So a lot of people set their New Year's resolutions. They got all excited about it, and they started on the 1st of January, only to quit on the 3rd. And other people just don't do it at all. They just say, nah, I'm just not interested in it. I'm just going to keep plodding along, one foot in front of the other. Nothing wrong with that. If you if you have a destination in mind, it's always better to keep yourself on track, have a good roadmap, and be able to ward off the bumps in the road, handle the storms, handle the droughts, and prepare for your future. So what is your future? If you are, a lot of the KSCO listeners that I love you all, you come in and say hi to me when you walk by my place in Brown Ranch. Many of you are patients. But, a lot of us have seen the couple trips around the sun, so to speak. And one thing I want to make sure is that for myself and those I know and anybody that I would appreciate it is you can change your future. You can change your mind. And the mind is a hard thing to change. What's really interesting is if one of the things people resist so often is change. However, our body loves change. It's like this kind of weird dichotomy. The body does really well with seasons, with changing foods. That's one reason we had such a healthy populace back before World War II and shortly after World War II, is because we had to eat foods by the seasons. Our ancestors canned foods to put away for those difficult times of the year. But the different types of food that grows in your region different times of the year are purposely help the microbiome in your gut, or the friendly bacteria, the 100 trillion bugs that are in your gut. Those the foods that we eat allow those bugs to live or die. I was listening to my friend Mindy Pelz the other day, Dr. Mindy Pelz. I've had her on the show a few times, and actually she was talking about fasting, and we kind of broke bread together, so to speak, in the early days of fasting back in 1736, I think it was. Now, actually, that's when the first Orton, when my oldest ancestor, 1636, got to the country. That's beside the point. So anyway, Mindy was saying, and this is one of the things we study in the Dr. Pompa group, and according to Dr. Jason Fung, according to Walter Longo, according to Yoshinori Asumi, all of these guys are leaders in the understanding of stem cells, the understanding of your body breaking down the bad, unhealthy cells in your body, the senescent or senile cells, and then detoxifying the bad toxins out of our cells themselves, out of the brain, and out of the connective tissue of our body. So when we're thinking about a future or tomorrow, it's so important we have our health. We've put away a health legacy, a financial legacy, hopefully, but nobody taught us about a health legacy. And for the last maybe 6 months, we've been really working a lot with what's called peripheral neuropathy, and I'm going to talk about that a bit. And then I'm also going to talk about heavy metal detoxification, which is really very, very important right now, especially, if you've been kind of watching what's going on with the different pollutants in our bodies and in the air and in the water, and, the heavy metals we get down through our 4 generations of mom's umbilical blood. You realize that these heavy metals they're actually metals, and they attract the radioactive frequencies and the radio waves. So when you put metal in something and you run heat over it, that tissue is going to heat up quicker than if it didn't have anything to conduct heat in there, like something like a metal. So that's just a fraction of the information on the heavy metals, and I'll go into that next week. I'm going to be talking extensively about cellular detoxification, cell health, brain health, and what you need to do to get that handled. But the first part of the show today, I really wanted to touch on 2 things. One is really establishing where you are right now and where you want to be in a month, 2, 3, 6 months. And then from there, be able to focus on the year end. And there's a lot of people that say this is going to be a pretty tumultuous year in many ways. Of course, having the political divide is not going to be healthy, as we all, I'm pretty sure, aware of. But a good friend of mine, Chris Phillips, and he's a great guy developing mushrooms now. He's showcased shower doors for years, but this guy, we call him Mr. Awesome. He's always got the best attitude. And he always says, when in any time of the world, any time of, Homo sapiens being on the planet, there are going to be good times and bad times. There's going to be feasts and famines. There's going to be plagues and such, right? But the people that are aware of what's happening and take advantage of the opportunities are going to fare the best. And I'm not saying taking advantage of the opportunities, but being prepared to spot them and go towards the areas of the greatest survival. So this is what's going to be really important for you right now, is to know that for you to be able to get through this next couple of years, you've got to have some finances in order, but you got to have your health in order. And the only way to get your health in order is for you to be in charge of it. And of course, for you to be in charge of it, you have to get some education, and you have to be able to look at the source of that education, and decide whether it makes sense, and do your own fact checking, so to speak. I don't like to use that word very readily, because it's very difficult to find the true facts out there anymore. What's the source of the fact checkers? Who's behind them? But despite that, and even the stuff I say, when I talk about something you may want to do for your health, we're rated 50th in the world for health now. It was 47th, but we're now 50th after many, many years. It's getting worse. So the stuff I talk about, if you have a medical condition, you need to talk to your medical doctor before you do anything to change your medications or the course that they have you on. But I don't think it's wise to go through at this point, because the medical profession is so overwhelmed. Even though we are rated 50th in the world for health, and we have clinics on almost every corner in where I live in Santa Cruz. Kaiser came over here. We have Sutter. Then we have Sutters everywhere on every corner, and all these Doc in the Boxes, but we're not getting any healthier. So what do you need to understand about this is, don't get sick. How do you not get sick? You get your body healthy. So the first thing I want to talk about is peripheral neuropathy, which is lack of oxygen to the nerves at the tip of your extremities. It would be the best way to explain that. And when nerves, as with any tissue in your body, loses oxygen, it dies. So your nerves start to die when it doesn't have oxygen. So peripheral neuropathy is lack of oxygen to the nerves at the tips of your fingers and toes and organs. And it starts to break down the communication from the brain through those nerve channels to the organ or the toe. And this is a major, major problem. It's an epidemic. It's probably the biggest epidemic in our country right now, because all roads, just as all roads lead to Rome, all disease is leading to peripheral neuropathy, because most diseases are treated as a chronic condition and treated with things to stay off the symptoms of that condition until the condition progresses to a point where the organs or the body part gives out. And that is Western medicine's approach, unfortunately. Not saying anything about my political vows one way or another, but I've heard Robert Kennedy talking about the fact that, I forget my point on that, but he was talking about the health arena and of course the cost of the medication, but the fact that, I know, he was saying, which I have quoted many times on this show, that we spend $4.3 trillion a year on healthcare in this country. $4.3 trillion a year, and we're still rated 50th in the world for health. 75 to 85% of all of that $75 trillion spent goes to managing conditions, not correcting conditions. So think about that. And the doctors out there working in all these clinics, they're overwhelmed. They're doing the best they can, no doubt. And again, when my appendix ruptured, I would have been dead if it wasn't for Western medicine. So, and it's very important. I've had other conditions handled by emergencies that were life-saving for me. So that is awesome. But peripheral neuropathy, again, is something that we've been treating very, very successfully. I'll give you a scenario of one of my patients. This is actually, could be many of them, where they or a family member has got this loss of sensation in their feet. First, let me go over some of the symptoms of peripheral neuropathy, because the words may not mean much to you, but the symptoms may mean something if it's you or somebody you know that might be afflicted with this stuff. And the affliction left unchecked turns into life-altering changes that will leave you basically, it will take away your freedom. Most of the people that come in with peripheral neuropathy, when I say, if we can help turn this around, resolve it, or slow it down, but preferably turn it around, which is what we're doing with a lot of people, then what would that mean to you? And almost one for one, the word freedom is written on that, under that line. So peripheral neuropathy, there's like 25 different things that you can find on my website, McCollumWellness.com, a 25 questionnaire. You just check the box on what's pertinent to you or not. But it's from numbness and tingling in the toes to lack of balance to burning in the extremities, feeling like you're walking on marshmallows. The sheets bother you at night, so you can't get comfortable. Restless leg syndrome, feels like you have a tight band around it. That just goes on and on and on. Can't walk on uneven ground, afraid to go gardening, don't want to walk on the beach and get all that really cool sea glass that's washed up now. A patient of mine, thank you very much, brought me some huge pieces of sea glass from Seacliff the other day. Some of the blues were dark blues were the size of a quarter, pretty amazing. But she said, I hurt my back bending over, and she's in extreme pain. And so she's not able to collect sea glass anymore right now, and probably the biggest sea glass collecting era in many years here. But that's what happens when your body doesn't work. You have to give up those things that are usually those things that are why you do everything else. In other words, you work, you make money, you take care of your family, you make sure that your bills are paid, and then you go have fun. But if you have got yourself to a health condition that you can no longer do that latter part, you're living in a four-letter word. You're trapped in your own body. And this is not okay. And that's why I'm on the air. That's why I have my clinic. We're very, very busy. Basically, right now, if you call up, it's probably 2 weeks to get in. Sometimes we have waiting rooms on this, but we don't rush people through this process. And if I don't think we're the right people or the right office for them, I'll let them know. And sometimes peripheral neuropathy is the bottom of the list of what they need to get handled. But those are the conditions. Now, again, I want to go over peripheral neuropathy a little bit more. Peripheral neuropathy is lack of oxygen to any of the nerve endings in your body or areas of your body. As these break down, you start to lose function of those nerves and you start to lose coordination, control, feeling. A lot of times diabetics don't even know that they have a cut on their toe, and then that cut gets infected, and then it can lead to pretty serious consequences, as well as the lack of oxygen to the extremities can. But that's the extreme cases. So let's not get there. Let's catch this in time. Unfortunately, what happens is it goes along kind of like a hockey stick with the blade part up in the air. It kind of slowly goes on, and all of a sudden it skyrockets. Most of the time people say, it's kind of this weird feeling, and then, it kind of came and go, and I'd kind of will it away and it would go away, and then it would be back and go away. And now it's with me every day. And I have to stomp my feet. That's still not working. I put them in hot water. That's not working. And I can't wear shoes, or I have to wear shoes, and I can't balance correctly. So this is so important that if you know people with this, it can be worked. We can do a lot for it right now, but don't wait till it gets worse. And peripheral neuropathy is, again, lack of oxygen to the toes. What do you call lack of oxygen to the brain? A stroke. What do you call lack of oxygen to the heart? A heart attack. Lack of oxygen to your toes is like water torture. It's a slow, slow demise of your freedoms and abilities to get around and enjoy your life. So don't let that go unchecked. We have, if you listen to the show, you can call up and say, hey, can I come in for the complimentary screening to see what's going on with my the nerves in my hands and or feet? And it's a thermo imaging. So we have a thermographic camera. We'll take pictures of your hands and feet. It will clearly show whether or not you have one of these problems beginning or advanced. And if so, we go into other internationally understood testing for the sensory condition to see whether or not we can help you or not. So, and the TRT machine, the soft wave therapy machine that I've talked about for so many years, is part of the treatment for this. And quite honestly, because of the soft wave therapy stem cell machine or tissue regenerative therapy machine, since I've had that machine and been working on it, people for all kinds of conditions since 2019, we've now done over 10,000 treatments with that machine. But what I found is that it does help turn around peripheral neuropathy in many cases. So by working with the other doctors around the country, now when I got mine, there were 200, there's about 700 now. I know about 100 doctors that have it, and we consort in many different ways. And I'm also a good friend with the guy that distributes them to the whole country. So we have consortiums, if you like, or areas to call and talk about, whether it's okay to do it over this condition or that condition. 90% of the time it is. Sometimes we have you take a document to your doctor, your medical doctor, to say, this is what the machine does. Am I cleared to do it? So we won't do anything until we have that clearance if need be. A lot of times what people are given for peripheral neuropathy is a medication called gabapentin or Lyrica, which is a drug that it was created for epileptic seizures, but they found the off-label is that it will kind of deaden your body to the symptoms that you're having, but not help treat them at all. It just deadens your body to it as it's progressing. It would be kind of like continuing to take aspirin for a toothache and waiting for it to become a root canal or an extraction. Or, if you've had nail in your shoe and you just kept taking painkillers to kill the pain in the nail in your shoe, and it finally got infected and got gangrenous until your foot had to be taken off. I mean, peripheral neuropathy advances that way. However, we know that we can turn it around in 90% of the cases. And we do that through a series of, I'll say, a plethora of treatments. One is, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So what I mean by that is when you put the 5 different technologies we put in place together, our results are tenfold to what it used to be, which was there is no treatment. This TR3 machine helps. And now we can say that within a few weeks, we're getting remarkable changes in most people. And we don't know that until we take a look at you. That's why the complementary machine will do. Better yet, Monday the 15th, we will have what's called a Lunch and Learn workshop at my office. Now, we've had these before, but at the Lunch and Learn, if you call 831-459-9990, you can come in and be in the Lunch and Learn. Now, we only have about 20 seats available, and several are taken by my patients. So it will be a first come, first serve on that. If there's a spillover, we will be doing another one out in the future, probably in February sometime. But if you think that this is something you want to find out more about, definitely come to the Lunch and Learn. It's going to be at 12:15 Monday, the 15th of this month. And it's McCollum Chiropractic. You can find us in the Brown Ranch Shopping Center in Capitola. But the thing about health is this is a really weird thing about your health, is it's up to you to fix. Now, I came up with a acronym the other day. It's not even an acronym. I should probably figure out the acronym. But the biggest epidemic in our country, hands down, for anybody to get their health optimally in place, by far the biggest possible diagnosis is a 5-letter word that I came up with last week. Because if you think that somebody else is going to pay for it, if you think somebody's going to pay for the remodel that you want and all those cool things you want to put in your bathroom, or the second story you're going to put on your house, or the engine in your car that needs to be rebuilt, or the real cool mountain bike you want, or the neat stereo system, or whatever it is, nobody's going to pay for it for you. You got to pay for it. The same thing is, unfortunately, with healthcare. Now, the biggest disease out there, in my understanding, it's actually a pandemic, is the 5 words, my insurance won't cover it. My insurance won't cover it. No, it won't cover it. It will never, it's never covered healthcare. It's sickness care, and it's there to help your symptoms get remedied, or to provide you a means to have a lifetime ticket to the drugstore. And those drugs, as we talked about before, 80% of $4.3 trillion are spent on that lifetime pass to the drugstore to cover up your symptoms. So, there are places that take your insurance for sure, but none of the insurance will cover more than a few visits a year. And most people will go, let me have that covered and then finish it. Unfortunately, if that's what you're looking for, then you're not going to get healthy. You're just going to mitigate symptoms. And that's not any better than taking medication as far as I'm concerned. But again, if you're on any of these meds, then you've chosen that path or been directed down that path. You need to get stock of where you're at right now, January 6th, 2024, and go, this is what's going on with my health. These are the conditions that I have going on: low back pain, neck pain, gastritis, brain fog, numbness, hiatal hernias, liver cysts, neuropathy, shaky legs, shoulder problems, whatever it is. It never stays the same. Sometimes people come in and they go, oh, my back went out. Well, it's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. But every time that happens, the disc gets skinnier and skinnier, and the arthritic spurs grow more and more and more, to a point where the bones are either going to fuse or the nerve's going to be choked off completely. You only have 31 nerves on the right side of your body. And you only have 31 nerves on the left side of your body. They go to 75 trillion cells altogether. So the nervous system is vital to keep your body healthy. But you also need to realize that because of the way that we've grown up the last many decades, is that we've been told that, you know, basically, if we're going to get healthy, it's our health insurance that's going to cover it. But also, the food industry has been designed in a way that our food is depleted of the nutrients that we need. And when I grew up, and I see my friend Tom there, when we grew up, the breakfast of champions was Wheaties, orange juice, and toast. All turns to sugar immediately, and that perpetuates the diabetes syndrome, which Tom understands. And, you know, as the blood sugar gets too thick, it can't get through the toes, the end of the toes, and the lack of oxygen causes the nerves to die, and that causes peripheral neuropathy. And diabetes is the #1 cause of peripheral neuropathy. And 60% of the people in our country are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. So that's one of them. The other one is chemotherapy and or radiation is another huge cause of the nerves dying in your hands or your feet. Because the chemicals that run through our body from chemotherapy, the tiny little nerve endings can't handle it. They start to retract. And as they retract, the blood supply and the nutrients and oxygen to those nerves start to dry up, and the nerves die. And that's when you start to get these things called peripheral neuropathy, which can end up in, which I've said before, numbness, tingling, unable to walk, all these different situations. So at any rate, that is the main thing I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the show, peripheral neuropathy, and the fact that we have been helping a lot of people. I meant to bring a success story from Wendy. Wendy has been a patient for over 30 years, and we've helped her through so many different things, but she's always been on wellness, meaning she comes in whether she needs it or not, mentally, to make sure her nervous system is working well. Well, she ended up, through a series of events, having pretty severe injuries to her ankles. And one was worse than the other, and she got really bad peripheral neuropathy. And I was one day noticing how difficult she was walking, and she had boots on. And she had to wear the boots because it's the only way she could balance. Well, we started her on the peripheral neuropathy program 6 weeks ago. And she just sent me an email this week, and it was on my desk. It said, I've been coming to Dr. McCollum all these years. Recently, he's helped me with peripheral neuropathy, and it's made all the difference in the world. So, you know, everywhere else will say there's nothing they can do about it. This one patient was saying her mother had been suffering from it, and the medical doctor told her, well, here's gabapentin. And the mother said, it makes me dizzy. I don't want to take it anymore. And he said, well, that's all I can do. And it's not because they don't want to help. It's just they don't have the tools at hand. They're too busy doing emergency type of medicines and being overwhelmed at the door with too many patients with conditions that, quite honestly, if these individuals would start to take care of their own health, learn about it, then you know, it would be amazing if we started to help every individual in this country nervous system work better, their immune system work better. The pharmaceutical companies will go out of business. Many years ago, it was illegal to advertise drugs on any TV. And once they started to do that, now every second commercial, or 1 out of 3, is a drug company telling you to take this new product. Tell your doctor if you have a health condition, because they don't know, is what they're implying. But if it gives you, you know, projectile vomiting, or your body's deathly allergic to it, tell your doctor. So, and I'm being overblown because you know, medicine is absolutely important, especially emergency medicine that saves lives. Things that prolong conditions, I'm not so fond of, but I understand that a lot of times people don't have the understanding of how to get themselves healthy. So that's why you can get my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, online at Amazon. Turn Back Your Biological Clock, that goes into so much data that is referenced from Dr. Dan Pompa, who's a really good friend of mine. I'll see him a few weeks out in Utah. Dr. Walter Longo, who talks about the stem cell growth at times of fasting. Dr. Yoshinori Osumi, who won the Nobel Prize in 2016 for his research on autophagy, or the breaking down of unhealthy senile or senescent cells when you fast. And Dr. Jason Fung, who is a nephrologist that found out that rather than treat diabetes with medication, he taught people how to change their diet, and they were turning around the diabetes. So, diabetes is a biggie, and that's one thing that we can help with. So in the next part of the show today, I'm going to be talking about how to turn around the chemical parts of your body. The first part, we're talking about the things that we need to do to handle the damage already done to the nerves, which is peripheral neuropathy. So we have a combination of things from biofeedback that runs signals from your feet to your brain 8 times a second, rebuilding the actual girth of the nerve or reestablishing the nerve where it's been broken down because of the lack of oxygen or toxins or injury. And it's like walking through a field that doesn't have any path in it. The more you walk down the same part of the field, the bigger and bigger the path gets. So peripheral neuropathy, the dying of the nerves, we can rebuild the nerve through the biofeedback. And also red light. The infrared, which you can't see, creates vasodilation in the tissue itself, and the ultraviolet light helps create angiogenesis. Angio means blood vessel, and genesis means new. So we create new blood vessel growth in the areas where there is dead capillaries. So we can help recreate the capillaries in there, not only through red light, but also through the tissue regenerative therapy machine. It's all been documented to do this. And there's hundreds and thousands of papers on this for the ultraviolet light and the tissue regenerative therapy machine. It's well documented that this will rebuild the blood vessels in the area. Now, it might take 1.5 years, 2 years to get you where you want to go, but it's taken a lifetime to get you where you are. We see remarkable changes in the first 3 months. One guy that started it had, I think, 19 out of 25 positive symptoms of peripheral neuropathy when he started. We did his reevaluation. After 3 months, he had 3 left. He says, this changed my life. I was so depressed, sitting on a couch, not knowing what to do. And now I've got my life back. So you can do that too if you catch it long enough. Don't wait. People go, well, I'll wait. It's going to get worse. It's not turning around. I take supplements. Well, if you're taking supplements and it hasn't fixed it, that's not enough. People often say, and this is segueing into the next part of my show, oh, I've been taking supplements and eating healthy diet for years. It ain't what you've been doing the last few years. It's what you did the first part of your life. Not only that, but what your great-great-grandmother passed down to her daughter, to her daughter, to her daughter, to you. In other words, toxins come 4 generations through mom's umbilical blood, especially lead and mercury. And lead, we're all from the lead generation, was in paint. It was everywhere. And mercury was in almost everything, from eye drops, the eye drops that we would use in the 80s to make sure that our eyes weren't red. Not that I ever needed to do that. But for the people with contact lenses in the day, it had mercury in it. And of course, the dental work has mercury in it. Eating too much salmon has mercury in it. We're not going to get away from the toxic environment. It's there. And I was watching something on one of the internet feeds the other day, and a guy was talking about the toxins. Now, we know this is new news. Not a lot of people are aware of it, but they've been adding a certain type of aluminum to jet fuel over the last few years, because they found by adding this particular aluminum to the jet fuel, that's much more efficient running engines. And if you've ever looked at one of those maps that shows how often the planes cross over going around the world, it looks like a web that you can't even see through by the end of the day. And that's just the flights that have a purpose to take somebody from here to there, let alone any of the other crosshatch stuff that you might be suspicious of, hear about, or see yourself. But the aluminum oxide that is coming out of the airplane fuel that's falling down on us is destroying our health. It's destroying our brain. It's add that to the glyphosate, the forever chemicals now, all those things that make things not slip, that never disappear. That's why they're called forever chemicals. Look it up. And these things get into our brain, they get into our body, they get into our cells, and they stop the function of the cells, and then they damage the cellular DNA to a point where the DNA starts to mutate. You know what that means. So I want to go into the detoxification portion of my show. So on the 15th, we will be doing a lunch and learn workshop at my office from 12:15. It's about an hour. There's only 20 seats probably, but we will have anybody that can't make it can watch it online. We'll have a Zoom link you can sign up for, and we will give you that Zoom link so you can watch it from the comforts of your own home. And then we will be doing, anybody that does show up or watches a link, we'll do a complimentary initial screening for peripheral neuropathy, which is a questionnaire, but more importantly, thermoimaging of the hands and feet to see if you do have any signs of the dying of the nerves or the tissue that could be causing the symptoms that you're having. So now this guy on the line was talking about the heavy metals, molds, all of these forever chemicals, the glyphosate, but he was specifically talking about heavy metals. And you may see this if you're on any of the social media, talking about how dangerous the heavy metals are, and we get them everywhere. And I've even seen people holding heavy magnets to the meat sections of some food companies. I haven't done that myself yet, but I don't discount it. So these heavy metals attract, they are actually one of the 3 deadly trio that Dr. Pompa teaches about, and we've been talking about for the last 6 years. And because it's disease has not, I mean, the kind of problems people are having, the chronic autoimmune disease, which is probably 95% of the people in the country have some sort of autoimmune disease. Some of it is very minor, but the autoimmune disease, especially when they have multiple autoimmune diseases, and especially with a lot of the toxins that we've got in the last few years, one way or another, these autoimmune diseases are your body thinking that its own tissue or its own cell is a foreign, dangerous substance that must be attacked. That's called autoimmune. Your body's attacking itself. And this might be as simple as fatigue. Your immune system weak, you're always getting sick. As soon as you're done being sick with one thing, you get another thing. Could be bad digestion because of bugs in your gut. The large intestine is so inflamed in people in our country. The microbiome, the 100 trillion microbiome in our gut that I talked about earlier, are so unhealthy these days. And those things make us crave toxic food. The ones that love to eat sugar are craving sugar. They're making your brain, since they're your second brain, they're sending signals through peptides to your brain saying, we want sugar. And then you break down and go get some Jerry's ice cream, whatever it's called, or Haagen-Dazs. And then you eat that and you feel satiated for a minute. Then you feel guilty for eating the ice cream. Bugs in your gut are happy as a clam. So as soon as that sugar that burns like newspaper in the fireplace is up, they're going to make you want to eat again. And you're eating empty calories, not only in the fast food, but in most of the food that we get that is commercial and mass produced. There is so few vitamins and minerals in that food. And even if they are, it's filled up with so many pesticides, herbicides, and fillers that your body can't get the nutrients out of it if there were enough in it. So we're slowly starving to death. We are slowly getting heavier and heavier and heavier, but our nutritional quality of life is getting less and less, and our organs are breaking down, and our, especially, the organs and our immune system and these systems. Right now, we have more cardiovascular injuries and deaths in this country and the world than we've ever had before by a huge number. And that's now being pretty well documented, and you can find it if you wish to. But that doesn't really matter. What really matters is you and your health and what you want to do in 2024 to come out of the other end better off than you are right now. So in the second part of January, I will be doing workshops on cellular detoxification by Dr. Dan Pompa's program, which I am a platinum member of. And many of the platinums, there's maybe 30, 35 of us that have been around a long time. We study stuff together. We bring things to the table. We try it. We make sure it's the right way. Dr. Pompa has final approval on it. We test all of our supplements to make sure there are no heavy metals, molds, or heavy toxins in there that, should not be in there. When you buy supplements that haven't from big box stores, the chances of them having contaminated heavy metals in it it's a given. They're going to not be very purified, healthy, potent supplements. They're probably just big jars full of rocks that you just can't dissolve. It's so bizarre when people come into my office and I take x-rays of them and I see a whole bunch of rocks in their gut and then in their large intestine. I go, oh, by the way, did you take vitamins today? And they go, oh yeah. And I go, well, here they are. They're 3 inches from being excreted out of your body. They have not been digested yet. So there's many reasons for this. Sometimes it's just a lousy vitamin. Sometimes, or supplement. Sometimes your digestive acids and the different type of digestive enzymes in your body are so weak or so unavailable that it can't even digest the foods that you're putting in it, let alone this hard pill that's been compressed with a shiny coating on it. Sometimes I can even say see the 5-letter word that starts with a B and ends with an R on it. Just kidding. But so what do? Number one, you've got to start to eat better food. That's a given. My book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, will give you a lot of information. Same with my book, New Hope for Sciatica. Both of those are basically distilled down from those people I've talked about before, from Dr. Pompa, Dr. Walter Longo, Yoshinori Asumi, Dr. Fung, and others, so that you can get it's in a readable way that you can implement it yourself or know where to go to find it. There's so much information out there. Now, I keep missing the point on this guy that was talking online about the heavy metals and how basically when you're eating you have heavy metals in your body, all of the radio frequency stuff that's going on in the world, from 5G to radio waves, it's so much. And right now, a friend of mine works for a major title company that's been shut down. One of the biggest ones, shut down for 2 weeks because somehow they hacked that electrical grid or whatever they did. But my point is that there's so many electromagnetic fields going on, and I'm not a freak about electromagnetic fields necessarily, and no offense to somebody who may have a lot more sensitivity to it. Many people do, but you got to get the heavy metals out of your body, because that is going to be what's going to attract the heat related radio waves to your body, and it's going to damage your body and create damage, from brain damage to organ damage, destroy the integrity of the tissues in your body and your cells. So you need to get the heavy metals out of your body. And he mentioned, oh yeah, you can get cilantro. Yeah, cilantro is a chelator, but it's not strong enough to get it all the way out of the body. It's like trying to pick up a Volkswagen or trying to pick up a full-size pickup with a magnet only strong enough to pick up a Volkswagen. So you can pick up the Volkswagen with that magnet, but trying to lift it and move it, it drops. And that's what happens with things, the weak chelators like cilantro and cholera and all these other ones. Not that they're bad, but they just don't work in an environment that we have. And yes, Maria, thank you. The 15th is a Monday, and that is the day we're doing our talk, not on a Wednesday this time. So yeah, it is Monday, the 15th of January, and it's going to be the talk on peripheral neuropathy. So, if you've ever been in one of those shops where they have those toys that you want to get, you put in a quarter and they have these forks that reach down and try to pick up the doll or the bear that you want, and you try to pick it up and move it over and drop it into the tray, but the thing drops before you can get it to the tray, and you throw quarter after quarter after quarter in there and you never get the thing. That is using a weak chelator trying to get the heavy metals out of your body. It won't work. You're going to waste a lot of time, frustration, and think that you're getting better, but you aren't. So you need to have the correct chelators. Now, you can't plant seeds on cement and expect them to grow. You have to till the soil first. So, you till the soil, you make sure that it's ready to receive the seeds so you can grow a crop. The same thing goes with detoxifying your body. First, you have to nurture the body's detoxification pathways. You have to get them opened up. You have to work with the liver, the kidneys, your spleen, the lymphatic system, and get them opened so that you can detoxify something. I mean, quite honestly, if you just got your downstream detox pathways open and did nothing else, you would be doing more than 90% of the people on this planet or in this country, because you would be able to successfully detoxify the stuff that's just sitting on the surface of your organs. It's like going in and dusting a room that hasn't been dusted for 2 years. It can't be dusted, or it can't be clean because the organs are too stressed. Liver, number one detox organ in the body. You got to get it cleaned up and get it functioning. Now, sure, milk thistle. Yeah, I do milk thistle. I did a milk thistle cleanse in January or last year. It's not strong enough. It's not bad. You might wipe off one little shelf of dust, but you need to get in there and do an industrial cleaning of your downstream detox pathways. It's not a harsh thing to do, but it's something that you have to do systematically. And right now, the science is so good that I highly recommend you do this with the newest science, with the strongest chelators, and, under the guise of somebody that knows what they're doing or connected up to a group that does. So often, people come in and they talk, well, my friend helped me with this. Hey, Lori, my friend helped me with this. She looks up stuff on the internet all the time. She knows everything about everything. Well, knowing about it and knowing how to make it work are two different things. And when it comes to your health, there isn't don't risk it. Get the true thing, especially if you have an autoimmune disease, especially if you have brain fog, especially if you want to have 2024 be better at the end, health-wise, than at the beginning, then this is the time to do something about it, the first of the year. And if you want, you can email Mariah, MARIAH, at McCollumWellness.com and say, I'm interested in finding out about the detox things that Dr. McCollum is talking about. We will give you the emails about it. We have a private Facebook group that you can get in called Health Rebels. But when we start this, you will be able to learn ways to do this correctly. When we first did intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet back in 2017, 2018, when we introduced it nobody knew about it. And everybody thought it was crazy. Now everybody does it, but they're doing it incorrectly for the most part. They're doing one meal a day, 24/7 or 365, or they have 2 meals a day. It's not the right way to do it. You have to go through feast and famine cycles, and you have to make sure that you are eating the correct oils and you're not toxifying your body. There's so much about it. That is not necessarily the point of detoxifying the heavy metals, molds, and the hidden infections out of your body, but it's part of it. And it has to be done systemically. You can't change the engine in your car till you open up the hood. Bad analogy, but you have to get your downstream pathways opened up. So when we get to the real bad stuff that's hidden in the brain, that's causing dementia, that's causing Alzheimer's disease, the glyphosate that has been opening up the blood-brain barrier and allowing these amyloid plaques to get into the brain and lay down tracks that electrical currents don't travel through. So you have no synapsing in the synapses that are supposed to synapse. So then you end up having these kind of problems. So I'm real excited about the new protocol that Dr. Pompa's unleashed to the world and that the Platinums are doing. He's been the leader in the game, and it's called From Pain to Purpose. Any of us in this group have got in it because of our own pain, and we had to find our own way out. You know, I broke my back when I was a kid, and I was in pain for almost most of my life till I was 20. But Dr. Pompa had such terrible mercury poisoning that nothing could help him. And then he finally, this is in about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, started to explore this. I was studying with Dr. Jeffrey Bland at the time, who worked with Linus Pauling. Jeffrey Bland was a genius when it came to the function of the cell and with biochemistry, but he talked way above our heads, so we couldn't understand what he was saying. Anyway, I've got a couple minutes left. Hope you've enjoyed the show. And please go to McCollumWellness.com or Mariah at McCollum Wellness and either make a comment, ask to join the show. Join one of our programs. The Peripheral Neuropathy show will be broadcast on Zoom. That's the 15th of January, 12:15. 20 seats in my office, but we will broadcast it. You can do this whether you live around here or on Mars. And we'd like to help as many people as we can. Hi, Gail, get the best health they can in 2024. So really appreciate all of you watching. All of you that come into my office and say hi when you're walking by, thank you so much. And if you haven't got your bottle of vitamin G yet, please stop by the office. I still have a few bottles of vitamin G, the strongest vitamin ever known to Homo sapien. Vitamin G stands for gratitude, and I've bottled it. I'm the first one to ever bottle gratitude. I have the bottles 100% pure gratitude. It gives you the directions on holding it every day and thinking of 10 things that you're grateful for, and then being grateful to the first 10 people you get. Now, this has not been approved by the FDA, CDC, FBI, CIA, or World Health Organization. But even if you don't get my bottle of vitamin G, gratitude will save your life. And I appreciate all of you. Grateful that you listen to my show. And I am here next week, same time. Please tune in to the Peripheral Neuropathy Show, April 15th, 12:15. You got to get on my talk to my office in order to do it. Mariah at McCollumWellness.com or 831-459-9990. And I just got a minute here. We're going to go out with Time by the Chambers Brothers, because it is time. The time is now. The time will come today. And if you don't jump on this now, where are you going to be in 2025? Let's have the best year possible. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next week.
What else? With all this and the ways.
Yes, it has.